All right, I am back after the meeting. Almost ready to dive in, but I'm going to take this in my pocket here. Glove on. All right. I am going to, for folks that might be following up from the previous stream, I am changing up what I'm working on. We'll be going back to the stuff I worked on this past Saturday stream, which is not on this device, for one thing. It is starting to pull data from this government web traffic API. Let me do this real quick, switch this back. Neat trick of the Pygamer is it has a battery plugin. It's inside the case, so I can't really show you very easily, but there's a battery in there and a switch on the top there, so don't forget to turn your Pygamers off. Otherwise it'll run out the battery. But then it tricks you when you go to plug it back in because you need to flip the switch to get it to turn on when it's plugged in. So about once every 3 or 4 times that I bust out the Pygamer and use it, I plug it in and I stare blankly at it for several seconds while it doesn't turn on, and eventually I remember there's a switch. So we're going back to pulling this data from this government API. Specifically, though, I'm picking up where I left off on Saturday, which is working inside the requests library to try to make it throw a better exception if it determines that the data that came back is gzipped. Oh, I can hear myself. Oh dear. Let me fix that. Okay. Let me go to here as well. Let me just switch this all the way over. All right. Try to keep an eye on the Twitch chat here. I don't always do it perfectly, so folks are happen to be watching this and you're trying to get to me in the Twitch chat and I haven't said anything in a while. I apologize. You could try pinging me. I don't know if that makes an audible sound. If so, that's probably pretty likely to get my attention. Or the other thing I'll suggest is for folks to go to the Discord. Pretty much anytime I am streaming, I'm going to be also available on the Discord. Just wanted to ask questions or interact in other ways. That's probably fine, I guess. Let me click on some tunes here. Background. Okay. Oh, one more thing actually before I get going. I am gonna disable the chat in the YouTube. I was trying to leave the YouTube chat enabled for a while, but I found I was getting more spam than I was legitimate chat, so eventually figured out how to disable it. Although I do have to do it every time I stream. Sometimes I forget, so if I remember, I disabled the live chat on YouTube. So if folks do want to get a hold of me, Twitch or Discord definitely are the places, not YouTube. But we are streaming on YouTube as well. It's duplicated out to there. All right, now we're actually ready to jump in. So if folks don't know, the CircuitPython weekly meeting occurred today, and in the weekly meeting I put some topics to talk about with the team in the weeds, and from that discussion I have got the next steps to take on this thing with requests. So let's open up requests, which I should have near the top of this list, yeah, because I just used it the other day. Raise Gzip error, that is still a good name for this branch. I don't think we ever committed. We did commit, okay. Maybe I'll make a new one without this commit, because it turns out what we did here is not actually what we want to do. This caused... well, I don't recall if it... I think it just didn't work in the case that... It didn't work in the case that it was meant to cover, basically. What we found on Saturday, must have been after I made this commit, was that when we call self._raw.read, this is actually destructive. We can only do this once. We can get the data back out of it once. So in this case, it gets the data out of it, it attempts to pass it into JSON loads. Well, it's actually up here. This is old fallback code, which we don't actually use anymore. This was Python, CircuitPython 5.3.1 and lower. It eventually changed to use this one. So this happens when it gets accessed here. This is basically also deleting raw for all intents and purposes. The idea would be it gets loaded into JSON, and then that same data is now inside OBJ, and we return OBJ, so the code that's calling this gets access to the data. The error we ran into, though, was when it accesses it here, it's either going to succeed or fail. If it fails, it's going to raise one of these exceptions. This was the exception we made it raise on Saturday to try to also check for this Gzip to see if it has the magic 2 bytes to indicate that it's Gzipped data. And then the problem was we couldn't access this again. When we tried to access this again, it's different afterwards. It's no longer the same data. So we couldn't do that. So this ended up not working. All of this is a long-winded way to say that we don't really want the commit that this came from. So we'll probably just start fresh again, I think. I'll choose a ever so slightly different branch name that still makes sense, and we'll just use that. Or I could delete this branch, I guess. What's the difference here? What's the difference? Because we also have this file as blue, which means that it's has changes even after the commit. Okay, right. So the other thing we found was on CircuitPython microcontroller, it was not a Unicode decode error. It was a value error. And the prints were just me trying to troubleshoot what was going on because the data was changing and it didn't make sense. But I have confirmed now that it's meant to do that. So let's go. It's probably, what do we want to do? I guess just revert this for now. We don't really need this stuff. So roll that back. Let's go all the way back to main. It's just, I guess I'll keep it just in case. I don't know. See, I don't think there's any new changes, but we might as well double check. And then let's just make a new branch. Git checkout -b, new branch name. So we won't use the same one. Raise gzip error. I'll just call this one gzip error. Raise is kind of implied anyway, I guess, right? Gzip error. No, from Adafruit main. No track. Okay. So what we really want to do is not try to read the first 2 bytes of the data like we were in that code before. Instead, we want to look at the headers because it turns out the headers also tell us that the data is going to be gzipped. So I think we would do this. I'm not actually sure, we're 100% sure where the exact best place. I guess it would be inside of JSON and inside of text. Because basically we expect the user is going to make the request, we're going to get the response, the user is going to try to access the data in the response, and that data is not going to be useful to them unless or until they can unzip it, which we're also working on separately. But for the short term, making the error better is the goal. So I guess when it gets accessed in JSON or text, or maybe after the Just right after the request completes, maybe? We call get, which gives us back a response. Oh, interesting. Okay, there's like one mega function that does all of them that takes which actual HTTP method. Okay. Oh, somebody played a word. That's right, I'll look into that later. Do we want to do it inside a get, which is ultimately inside of here? Or do we want to do it when they try to access it? I wonder if, so there is a way, I think, right? .content we found allowed us to just access the bytes. Which actually we ultimately got. Yeah, okay, we did do the unzipping here. So yeah, I think what we could do is let's raise the error if they try to access JSON or text and tell them, ideally we'll try to do it before it internally reads the thing that destroys it, basically. So like ideally we'll check the headers. If it's gzipped, then don't even do the internal reading and instead just tell the user that the data is gzipped and it can't be automatically unzipped. And if they want to access the raw bytes, they could find them here on response.content, which if we properly don't access, then it should still be there, hopefully. Let's try to do that. I guess what I'll do first is this one happens to be using JSON, so inside JSON, inside the JSON function, which is somewhere in here, right here. I think if it's cached, then this stuff has already occurred, which means we don't have to really care about it. I think it's right here before we attempt to access it the first time. I think right here is when we want to do this. So what I'm going to start with is just the self.headers, print this, and let's look at what's inside of here. And we can, yeah, we can just use this to test. This is a CPython 1. Perfect. So there's our headers, content encoding. Right there is the one we want to look at. So I'm going to now go back to here where I printed, and instead of just headers, do headers content encoding. Hopefully this one is going to print gzip, which it did. And so now we will do this. If self.headers content encoding equals gzip. Running this code, I get the following errors. EIO? How is this running? This is on help with channel. Also kind of keeping an eye on and helping out with. When we run this code, we get the following errors. Any ideas why? Let's just start with that, actually. I don't recognize this run-c editor content. It's not a new thing, I don't think. Maybe Thani? PyPico and then MicroPython on Thani. It is Thani. Gotcha. So I don't. This is the device. EIO. The first thing this makes me think is that the code is not going into it correctly. Like maybe the this value of this variable somehow doesn't have all of the right code in it. I am not familiar at all though with Thani or the way this is being run. So there's probably other folks who are going to be better suited to answer this. We'll go back to this. It's running MicroPython. Okay, yeah, I don't think it's going to be able to do that. This person, of course, can't hear me speaking out loud, but it's all right. But I blink it to use the CircuitPython APIs. Oh, okay. If it is Gzip, we want to raise. We'll just do what we were looking at before. Raise a new value error. Oh, right. This was one of these, right? It's not a function. Value error. Let's say content. Loading is Gzip. Data cannot be accessed as JSON or text. Get raw bytes. Let's see. Content property can be used to access raw bytes. It's kind of weird because I didn't capitalize any of these, but that was intentional because this is it's lowercase in the response. Although, did I say that? Yeah, they're all lowercase here as well. Somewhere I looked the other day, I think I saw these as uppercase. Maybe Firefox does it different or something else, I'm not sure. I guess we'll just capitalize them to be grammatically correct instead of specific property name. And I'll just avoid the problem on this one by adding the content property can be used to access the raw bytes. Format, it's still too long. That'll fix itself with black later. So let's see if this raises, and then if it does raise, let's go and access the content afterwards. Content encoding is Gzip. Data cannot be accessed as JSON or text. The content property can be. Maybe let's make this part a little bit more succinct. Use content property to access raw bytes. Okay. I think that's a little bit better. Content encoding is Gzip. Data cannot be accessed as JSON or text. Maybe this could be like comma. Does that need to be 2 sentences? I'm not so great at like grammar, I guess it would be technically, or the act of making sentences that are correct, basically. Content encoding is Gzip. Data cannot be accessed as JSON or text. Use content property to access raw bytes. Yeah, short and sweet. Gets the whole point across, tells them what to do next. That is a good looking error message to me. And that does work. So let's go back to here and then try to actually, let's just do the whole unzipping afterwards, right? We might as well. Just uncomment all of this. So this is going to go and access content, just like the error says. So I guess maybe it would be, if we want it to be like more correct, it would be, I guess, like this, more proper. Except value error, and then do that inside of here. In our case, I don't think it will make a difference, but this is probably more proper because if it did succeed to get the JSON, then we don't want to go on and do all of this stuff. So if this prints out real data, why is this yellow? It can be undefined. Whoops. Let's just put it in here. Then it can't be. And it wants a new line. Let's give it that. So if we get real data printed here, then that means this worked. Looks like real data to me. Nice. Okay, so we have currently 418,103 users on US government websites as of, I think it's updates every 5 minutes or something. So as of at most 5 minutes ago. So that's pretty nice. I think this is a good, happy sort of in between. Like eventually we're going to get this worked in a little bit more automatically, hopefully to occur inside of requests. But for the immediate short term, this is pretty nice. Like, I think this makes sense. Try to access the JSON. It fails because it can't do it without it unzipping it. So, you know, we accept the value error of it failing and go ahead and fall back and unzip it right here. I think we will need to do text also. Is there's one of these, text? Is this a function? So, you know, it's interesting that JSON is a function and not a property. Text is a property, and JSON is a function. I find that interesting. Python? I guess there's a console over here. You know what I really want, actually, is IPython, because it is so much nicer. IPython, import requests. Let's go response equals requests.get. Print response.text property. Yeah, that does work. Okay. JSON property? Method. Okay, so this matches the CPython API then, I guess. I'm curious. I wonder why they went with a function for JSON and not a property. I guess because it's doing processing? Sort. I wonder what the rationale for that is. But that'd be a question for the CPython requests folks. Or there might be like a Python, what do they call those? PEP guideline or whatever, PEP number thing that's like an official spec. But it does match, which is good. And I think, though, we'll have the same error. We tried like this, but it's not currently going to raise this value error. Or it is, and I'm wrong. So I guess what happened probably is it probably got to here, and then this raised what ultimately was a value error, I guess. I think we'll still add a check and make our own happier message. That's interesting that worked, though. Let's try back to this, and then let's just turn this off. So this will be a value error? Okay, Unicode decode error, okay. This is where we got that, which extends value error, so that's why it's what we caught. And it is on, yes, it is on the line where it calls string. Okay, all right. So I think what we do is turned out not to be a string. I think we put it here on this one. But we want the full if statement. There we go. Content encoding is Gzip. Data cannot be accessed as JSON or text. Use content property to access raw bytes. That's what we want. So in the case of this try except one, it doesn't end up changing the behavior at all, because it was already accepting the value error, and therefore it's not going to print it. I mean, I guess if we did like as E, and then we did like print E, then we would still see it, and we would see the better message that we made, as opposed to if we hadn't done that inside the text property, then we'd see the old message, the Unicode decode error. Okay, yeah, I'm liking this. Don't really need this part of it. Or this part of it. So I'm gonna condense this a little bit and post it on the pull request I'm about to make as the code that I tested with. So I'm going to turn this back off. I'm going to add one more of these. Does this, but I'm going to comment it out, and then this will be the code that I post. So somebody could, if they wanted to, they could grab it and, swap these around. That's the JSON as opposed to the text. The other thing we should still do, actually, real quick, is we should test this on CircuitPython device. I think this is coming back to me a bit. I think this is where I got to on Saturday, is I did all this testing and it worked on CPython, and I was just about ready to make the PR. And I was like, let's test it on microcontroller. It turned out that we did have a problem on there. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to put it here. I am going to put this back to our government data, which is Gzip. Bunch of this stuff. Yeah, this should do it. So this should raise our exception, the new exception that we added. Oh, but of course we will need to actually copy. Close some of these. I have too many libraries open. We need to copy this onto our device. To delete the old one as well. Okay, got connected, fetching data. Does take a little longer. Surprised it hasn't either succeeded or failed yet, hopefully. You know what's interesting? I don't see those on the screen. Oh. Okay. Got it. So it took it a couple extra seconds. Not really sure what that was all about. But it did make it, and it did eventually update the screen as well, even. Oh, we have this print still turned on. We'll need to go fix that. But we did get our happy little value error here, which is nice. Let's go back to here, find print, delete this. And, you know, I'm pretty sure we're good, but only gonna take a few seconds, and I'm gonna test it another time here with that change. Then as long as this is good, we will run pre-commit to format the code and Pylint and everything, and then push it and make a pull request. Okay, got our thing here. So we could also, theoretically on this code, we could do what we had on the other one, right? Try this, except value error, this. And in this case, I also drilled into the data and accessed a specific field instead of the whole thing. I guess let's just add one more data. So we'll print the whole thing, and then we'll print active visitors. All right. And now this one will raise the error. We won't see it get printed because we caught it. And theoretically, yeah, it will do all the stuff for us. So it printed the whole data, printed our specific value. Oh, we've gone down about 20,000 viewers, or visitors, rather, since that last one I looked at. That last one was like 418. All right, I think we're looking pretty good here. I'm going to go back to here. We're going to run pre-commit, quit, pre-commit, run a. All right, that's going to format it for us, which now these lines will be shorter. Or not. But they're, I guess, not so long that blacker Pylint's met? Or maybe, I guess, is it Pylint that has line too long, isn't it? Yeah, okay. Okay, so I'm a little surprised that Black did not fix these for us. So I guess let's just go. Like that. I don't know, do I need a comma or a slash or something? But PyCharm seems to think that you don't. Okay. Let's check the space content encoding. Yeah, right there is where we broke, and looks fine. We have a single space between it, so I guess you can just kind of smash two. Can you just do that? Just smash two strings together? I think I knew that. There's like an implicit plus sign. All right. That should fix our issues there. We're failing reuse because I've created extra files that don't have proper licenses, but they're not checked in, so they're not actually a problem. So it looks like we should be good. We'll check our changes here. So inside the text property, we check the content encoding header to see if it's Gzip, and if it is, we raise this new error. Same thing inside of the JSON function instead of property. We check the content encoding for zip, raise the error, and we should have no other changes. And we don't. We pretty much keep this commit message. The guy Gzip error, that sounds good to me. Spell indicating right? I don't know. Not red, I guess. I don't know the right name of this, if it's just Feather TFT or if ESP32S2 is part of the name. I don't think there's any other feathers with a TFT on them right now, so theoretically that's kind of enough to identify it, but and NCPython. I didn't get enough. Yeah. output. Oh, nice. They got their MakerBill thing to work. Folks are interested. Ah, wrong pins. I think the other one, it was GPIO 1 and 0. Yep. There's extra bus on there, I guess. Do this real quick. Back to main. Run this again. This in there as well, so folks can see what the right version does. Okay, verified that catching the exception does allow user code to successfully access raw data. Let's put the try accept one as well, because I think that illustrates like upside of this quite a bit. Or, well, I guess the upside is the better message. But shows that it really, what it's doing is showing that it's not destroying the data, right? We had that problem where we access it the first time and then it gets changed. This is showing that it is not getting changed by our new exception code. Put it in the wrong spot, however. All right, let me double check here. From improvement of the error message that arises from fetching Gzip data from API message. Problem in or no way to access raw data. Okay, yeah, it's looking good. I think this is not super important, but I happen to notice it, so I'm going to fix it. Just take the get out of here, I think, and go with just a colon. All right. We will see if this passes. That's red already. Can this be X already? Be a front end bug. It hasn't even started yet. It's weird. You can't really get back from this page to the PR. noticed. Like, PR spawned this page, spawned the actions that this page is telling us about. There's not like a link back to the PR that I am aware of. There's this, which is 2 hops to get back. Oh yeah, it's just a front end bug. It's yellow now. Okay. Next thing I want to do is, while we're waiting on this, I am going to move some code from that old register PR into this new library that I believe Katney set up this morning. Yeah. Do this. So this repo is empty. We're going to run cookie cutter, create the initial code, and add the code from the old register pull request, which is this. So first thing we need to do though is cookie cutter. Actually, to do that, I'm gonna go to learn. You know, I wonder if we should have a link to the learn guides on this page somewhere. Started. Yeah, to the learn guides. Okay. Really the one I want though is, what is it, sharing. It's this, creating and sharing a CircuitPython library. And this page has this command. How we do this. Repo CircuitPython, yeah, that seems like a fine place. And if I recall right, this will like update itself, yeah. So it says we downloaded it before in this temporary folder. Is it all right to delete it and re-download it? Yep, we definitely want that to get the latest one. This is Adafruit repo, hub user, Adafruit, author name. Ordinarily I'd put myself, really this code is from this PR, so I'll put this person's name, I think, Maholi. 1 second, I'm gonna, yeah, you'll have to bear with me for just a minute. I'm gonna read this, thing that my wife just sent me here, an article that she wrote. I don't know if she would want me to put it on that screen, so you're not gonna have anything to look at for now. I'm just gonna read it over here real fast. Interesting. It's pretty sweet. Sandpaper does want to do that, curl up on you. Okay. I didn't know there was fabric-backed sandpaper. Huh. part I could show because it's this person's video. I was reading an article about this. Just to see it in action. I think the audio is not getting piped through. Hopefully the audio is not getting piped through actually, because I have music playing. That would be bad. But you all can't hear this. You could of course find this YouTube video if you want to hear what they're talking about. So these are like clampy handles. You pull, okay, and that loosens it. Grab what you need. Pull the handle back. Nice. Alright, yeah. Alright. My it's for Hackaday, and I tend to be a test audience to read the posts sometimes. So I'm gonna put, I think, because really this is the person who wrote the code. I think it makes sense to use their name for. That's annoying. Okay, that failed. It's copied more stuff. What's their name? Fruit. Yep. There we go. Library name. So this will be RegisterSpy. That pasted an enter, but works. There's not like a space in it or something. I think we look at register and basically we do this. This is really the main difference. And I'm pretty sure that this description that it's asking for here is where that about text comes from. So it makes sense that that is what we would fill in. Keywords, this one just has, I think maybe is included automatically. I think I'll leave keywords blank for now. 6, 8 fruit, yeah. Product ID, there's not one specific product. Requires bus device, yes. Requires register, this one would be no, because this is explicitly different version of register. Basically, you would use this instead of register, which begs the question, would we start having a thing here that says requires RegisterSpy? And we have a new question eventually. The requirements none for now. PyPy yes. Sphinx yes. Now we should have CircuitPython RegisterSpy. This would have been what we just created. Don't have an extra space or anything here, so that's good. Not here either, so that is good. I was thinking with that one that like pasted and submitted in one action, I got a bit worried maybe it would have an extra space or something, but it looks like it doesn't. Yeah. Yeah, AT MakerBill. How's it going? And yes, you can find me here. Hopefully I didn't miss if you said anything in the Twitch. I'll put that up here. Yes, whether I want to do something in the core or streaming, ping me when you're done. I can do that. I mean, I'm around anyway, too. I can... I don't know. I mean, I'm working. I'm streaming and I'm working. So I can talk to Catney for a minute. Can have a Chatney with the Catney. Let me also, before I forget, shuffle these windows. Hopefully I didn't miss. Yeah, okay, the AT Makers didn't reach out on Twitch as well. I want to make sure. Just put you on just now. Okay. Yeah, I will mention, yeah, the live broadcast chat. I don't, like, on my regular streams every Saturday morning, which is the stream I, like, schedule and do weekly, I'll post links in the live broadcast chat. On Mondays or sometimes in the evenings when I get on, just kind of because I feel like it and I happen to be working on stuff, just impromptu, I'll hop on whenever. And then I usually don't post the links in the chat, but you can totally always ping me in the live broadcast chat if I'm on. That'll make a sound and it should get my attention. Or the Twitch chat is the other place that I try to keep an eye on, although I did have it hidden for a while, so I had not quite succeeded. Let me fly back real quick here. Okay, Kenny is asking about this, which I will pull this over. We can look at this. Hard crash on this bitmap. This does seem like something I'd be interested in. What's going on with it? So, oh, I commented here. Okay. Yeah, this is ringing a bell. This is ringing the bell. Okay, yeah. This does seem like a good thing to dive into the core on, actually. Yeah. So basically we need a better error message for this. Yeah. So I may actually dive into this next, in which case we will maybe have more, a larger expansion on it, but just since it is here and I've been staring off the screen for a minute to catch folks up, this was submitted a couple weeks back, and it's essentially using bitmap tools in order to, in this case, it's calling the blit function, which lets you kind of like cut a rectangle out of one bitmap and then paste it into another bitmap. That's the way that I think of it. And there's not good enough error checking. If you do it on the wrong type of object, then it hard crashes. And we don't want it to hard crash. We want it to raise a exception that tells the user what the problem is, much like the exception we just put into register, actually. Or not register, but requests, which failed. CI, what did we do? Whoa. Test Python package failed. How does it test the Python package? Good. Failures. Test. Okay, so the error, I guess, would be if the headers don't contain a content encoding, then this would crash because it's trying to access it and it would not be there. So we should add actually a check to this. I don't know, I guess there's tests in this? Tests? Yeah, interesting. I don't know which one failed. Test get text? There's no test get text. Test. So this does not have content encoding. Therefore, when we tried to access it, it failed. So actually, this is a really good argument for unit tests, because I would not have noticed that this failed without this thing complaining to me and failing the actions. And we definitely should fix it, because I have no idea if servers are, I mean, I'm sure they're not required to return content encoding. It may be the best practice. It may even be a spec somewhere, but surely a server could choose not to do it. In which case, we don't want to crash. We want to, in this case, we won't be able to work very well if the data does happen to be gzipped, and they didn't tell us that, but we should at least not crash. So we will go here. No, we're back to main, actually. So we want to go here. Gzip error. This is the branch that we just made the PR from. And then on our things here, we will actually go if content encoding in self.headers and self.headers content encoding equals gzip. This way, if it's not in there, we will not try to access it. Should stop it from failing, I think. I wonder, how did these tests run? Can I run these locally? Install tox, it did a bunch of installing. Start. I don't actually know the command it ran. Honestly though, PyCharm, maybe if I just do PyTest? Yeah, that passes. I don't want to go, I guess I could remove it real quick. Try it one more time and just make sure that it fails. Yeah, okay. So I failed all of those because of that. And then now we pass them because we fixed it. Sweet. All right. Let's run pre-commit. I don't know if it'll want to format or anything. Indeed it did, I think. Yeah, look at that. All right. Now... Oh, I see. Yeah, it broke this to 2 lines. I don't really like it that much as much, but that's all right. Matter really Black likes it better, and that is the important part. Yeah, looking pretty good here. So let's go check for content encoding to exist before accessing. Okay. Hooray for unit tests. I am a late adopter, admittedly, to unit testing. I don't write a lot of unit tests for my own code or for like work code or things like that. I have done it for a few select projects that it seemed particularly apropos on, but it's not a habit that I do. Like, I know some people are very, very strictly into, like, won't even write code without a test, you know, first. Or certainly would not publish code without a test. I know some people are like that. It's not the way I am. But in this case, the unit test did just save us from potentially accidentally publishing a bug that probably would have made a crash for other people. So that is pretty cool. I'm a little warm, so I'm actually going to take my hoodie off real quick. I will be right back. Okay. And this should pass this time, since it passed locally. I think we should be able to I think it should pass in the actions cloud as well. While that's going though, I'll go back to spy request, which I did not actually open. So we opened it in the file manager, but we can, whoops, don't need that up. We can put it in here, but it's not gonna be in recent because I did just create it. Here. All right. So we have some things to do. For folks that have never seen it before, this is kind of the birth process of a new library. So I ran the cookie cutter thing earlier. If you missed that, you can catch it on the VOD. But we ran that. We answered all the prompts. That spit out. That created this repo for us with all this stuff in it. But it's all boilerplate right now. There's no actual code in it. So what we're going to do is grab the code from that PR. In order to do that, I'm actually going to go to register. I don't need this open anymore. Oh, I don't have register. Really? Surprised at that, actually. Whoops. Oh boy. Can't go back from here. Surprised I don't have register cloned already. Oops, did it again. Okay, clone. There we go. Let's go register. And this will be tricky. How many windows? Okay. Not as tricky as I thought, actually. These look like their own new files, which is perfect because that's how we'll want them. So in here, there's I2C underscore bit and bits. And so I think we'll keep this structure. So let's make a directory called, you know what would be interesting is if the cookie cutter had a prompt for like, is this going to be a single file or a directory? There's a couple of things that have to get changed based on that. And I guess you wouldn't always know at the time you create it, because I guess it's likely to get created as a single file and then maybe expanded on later. RegisterSpy. Python file init. And to get these other files, what I'm going to do is go back to register and GHPR. So this is not going to list the PRs because they're not open. GHPR. Oh, PR checkout, create view. Status. Flags. Reopen. This is PR list. Is this a separate command? There's other ways I could find this branch, but I'm curious to learn a little bit more about this GH tool. I tend to, everything I find out about this thing seems to be useful to me later on. So I've gotten to the point where I'm like pretty willing to dive into the old rabbit hole a little bit and find what I need. So this will do what we want. GHPR list, and then dash, where was that? Dash S, lowercase. I'm going to do state, actually. Dash state closed. State closed. This will be a rather long list. Since we're here and we're on the command line, we could just go grep simple bit. Okay, this is it. So 35, GHPR checkout, 35. And now I have our files right here. Copy these. Go into our new repo. They're going inside of here. These are old style ones of these. Copyright notices. Oh, okay, I guess this is Scott's listed here as well, so we might as well leave the copyright maybe. So at some point along the way, we started using reuse, third-party module that enforces the licenses, and we no longer need that giant block of text here. Instead, there's this identifier, and it matches to a file that's inside of here with that longer text. So it's more efficient because we keep the full text of the license once, and then just reference it. And there's like automated tools that can check on it and figure out all sorts of stuff about the license, which is nice. So spy bit and spy bits, and I'll do a couple other things before we push this. We don't need this file because we're going to be a module. We will need to go in here do this. If library files are package folder, change PyModules to packages, which we do want. Delete the to-do. Those are keywords, I guess. Those seem like good additions, but I can't really think of anything beyond those, really. Let's make sure this is right. I double pasted it. Yep, perfect. So this took us to our empty repo. So we got that linked up right. All right. Let's see. There's a handful of other to-dos. I don't know. Let's see if we can find them. I think maybe there's some in here. And comment below if you use native CircuitPython modules. Native CircuitPython modules. I guess we would have bus.io, but I'm not sure if we actually need that anymore. So do we actually have doc strings? Yeah, there's doc strings. So what happens if we try to build this? To build the docs. cd docs. cp docs. I have an alias that runs the right Sphinx command. Explicit list. Okay, so yeah, I guess this is going to fail for some other reasons. So let's keep going and see if we fail because it can't find something. 41. To-do. Describe the Adafruit project this library works with. I mean, it works with any spy device, basically. It's not. It's kind of a lower level thing. I think we this whole thing out. Interesting. Yeah, this whole thing out. I was thinking the to-dos told you what to do. Remove the above note if PyPy versions will be available at the time of release, which I think the idea is yes, they will be. This will be tougher. I don't know exactly what's going to go here. Part of the thing about this is the full details of what it's doing are a little bit beyond me at this point. I mean, it would be similar to this stuff. Interesting. This one doesn't have it filled in, but it does have a creating a driver section. So I guess we'll probably want something like this. Interesting. So I think we'll take all of this stuff. It's going to have a fair amount of things that need to change because lots of this is referencing I2C. But the intention is to basically be able to use this new library in a very similar kind of way as far as I understand it. So we will probably want all of this stuff anyway. And of course, eventually we'll come back and change it from referencing I2C. All right, so we have no more to-dos. Let's try our build again on the docs, see where we fail next. Index RST, so there's... I don't know if there's a learn guide for this. This would be an interesting advanced learn guide, maybe. register? I'm not sure what it would be called. Register. Almost, I mean, like CircuitPython driver? Yeah. This looks promising. This is actually really cool. I've not seen this guide before. I will say this is mostly talking about I2C. Oh. Oh, this should be embedded from the making and sharing a library guide, maybe. Spy stuff. I don't know. I'll stick it in. I'll ask Katney about it, and if not, I do think it would be nice maybe to make a new one of these that covers the same process using this new library that's creating a spy driver. And I'm glad I looked for this actually, because I hadn't seen this guide before, and this is something I want to get into this year, is figuring out how to write these lower level drivers that are communicating via spy and I2C. One thing is I don't know the exact right syntax for this. Let's look here. Index. Restructure RST, restructured text is not something I have committed to memory. We use it in these things, so I'm learning more and more, but honestly Markdown I have a little bit more memorized than RST. So we'll take the driver, or the name of this. And I don't think necessarily we need overview. I think it will automatically go there because it's the first page. Any product links? Nope, there's not going to be. Simply delete this to-do, leave it above for use later. Okay, delete this. Let's go find to-do. No more. Okay, let's try build. This is in here. It's a document API that doesn't have a title. No link will be generated. Remember what that means. let's look here. Okay, maybe it's wrong because, yeah, I bet it's wrong because yeah, this would need to be spy bit, and actually we'll need 2 of these bits. Yeah, so we have a different error now, which is good. It means we made it past that. Docstring of spy bit 1 any reference not found. Oh. So did that get to here? Not. Any reference target not found. So Sphinx is a really, really neat tool. Great for building documentation. Error messages leave a lot to be desired, in my opinion. This is purple, which means I've been here before. Search for any, and we don't. Any is not used in here. Or here. It's got too many. I don't have the word any by itself anywhere. None. This one says none, any reference target not found, and this actually has file, which, oh, register. This should be RegisterSpy. We just, it says RegisterSpy. Oh, there, yeah. Okay, this, I think, spy. Yeah, see these? I don't know. I guess I just don't have that much experience with it yet. Maybe it'd be easier if I did, but sometimes I just struggle to figure out what Sphinx is talking about. This does make sense, though, I guess. This is line 1 of the docstring in this file, so it does kind of make sense. And if I would have searched, if I would have paid closer attention and saw that it was missing the underscore spy there sooner, then I could have, like, Control F found it and probably figured out what the problem was. But looks like we got there. Looks like we built, so I don't think we need any more mock things. We'll open this. I don't know what time Tammy Makes Things. So Tammy Makes Things is a new member of the community that's been working on CircuitPython stuff last couple of weeks, and let's see. Yeah, doesn't say a time or anything. But Tammy makes things a new member of the community. She's going to be streaming tonight on Twitch. I was gonna check to see if she was on. So I will check that out because I'm always excited to see new and more folks streaming CircuitPython stuff. So this pretty good to me. I mean, there's probably going to be some things that are wrong, like all of this stuff we copied in is going to be I2C. But our actual doc strings came out pretty good. This stuff is all already in there, basically ready to go. That is great. Let's check recommit. It's not a Git repository. Git init. Okay, now it's not going to do anything because nothing is checked in. So git add dot git ignore. Git remote dash v. No remotes. Git remote add Adafruit. This one? Ooh. You know, I don't usually get this URL without being able to click the code thing here. Yeah, this is the same, I guess, remote. Okay, so I always like to add and commit my git ignore before I do anything else. I'm also on the wrong branch, so I have yet to figure out how to make this do main by default. Git checkout should be main. Is it still added, I guess, so we can. So that's nice, actually. I can still change the branch after I made that commit, and I'm still able to eventually push to main. This will push to here, and eventually, once this library gets set up and running, then we would be making pull requests and not pushing directly to it. But since it doesn't exist yet, I'm going to push the first few just to it, and then not worry about making a fork and PRing just yet. We will eventually, though, end up having PRs because we'll need to do some of the changes that Scott and Sedacious were talking about on that original PR from Register. So this will push. Interesting. I think that that's likely to mean that we don't have permission. I think I don't see it here either. So yeah, I was just asking Katney. I think what's going on, this doesn't have, it didn't get added to CircuitPython librarians yet, I think is why this push failed. So it was kind of a weird error. It didn't really tell me the push failed. It just asked me for a password, but I suspect it asked me for a password because it tried the token it had. The token it had failed. Therefore, it asked me for a password or a new token, which has the rights to it. But we don't want to put a new token or a new password. We want our token that we already have to get access to it. Ultimately, that would be via the CircuitPython librarians group or something on GitHub. All right, added. So we should be good now, I think, actually. So we can just try this again. No, I got the same thing. Again, but it does say use token, but I should have token already. Anonymous, right? Details. Anonymous. But it shouldn't really be anonymous. So maybe it does not actually have a token. This makes it seem like it's not actually trying my own. So maybe somehow this one doesn't use my same token. So that's gonna be a bit of a bummer because. So let's do this, I guess. Oh, I have no idea where this is gonna show. So I'm gonna move this over here. I'm gonna hope that this just doesn't show anything. That would be the ideal thing. Certainly gonna hope that it's not showing my token. Okay, yeah, it's not. But I'll need to get a token. I also can't do on stream, so you'll have to bear with me here because this part will not be very interesting. GitHub. Where do these come from? It's weird that it doesn't remember it. It's here. Here. So yeah, problem is can't just look at it and get the old token. Actually, I have to create a new one, which is good security on GitHub's part. It makes it so that you can't leak your key. Like, I could put this on the screen and it would be okay. It would not leak anything. I'm not going to do that because I still don't really trust it all the way. But basically, they don't show you your old tokens, so you actually have to create a new token. Okay, get that, copy that. Here, paste this. Okay. Correct credentials, insufficient scopes. Oh, you know what it is? I think it's not actually that. Let me delete this, cancel this. Let me go to here. Something. Copy this, take it over here, paste it, make sure it's actually something. Okay. Just make sure we don't have my token on the clipboard still so we don't have any accidents. I think actually maybe the problem is we do have a token. We have rights to push. We do not have rights maybe to create a new branch. I guess technically is what's happening. Although this has a bunch of stuff now. Including instructions. Branch-m. So the fact that that wasn't there before and is there now makes me think that at least the GitHub front end thinks that we're allowed. Why is this not going to RegisterSpy? Oh, I moved it over here. There's no tokens showing, right? No tokens? No tokens? Okay. No tokens. The fact that the front end is showing me these instructions now makes me think that, I mean, the front end thinks I have the rights to, otherwise why would they show me this? Just a minute ago, before the permissions were on there, it showed me a blank page. This is what it would do, I assume, if I didn't... It didn't think I had the rights to it. Right. We did Adafruit. Ah, okay. So we're gonna have to do this, and then... So I guess maybe... Alright, I'm gonna try this. Okay, we scooted this over. Guess that pasted. Interesting. So I don't know. PyCharm didn't want to do it for some reason. This. Okay. I've successfully cleaned the clipboard. Let me close this page. Should close this page too. We're back. Nice. What was the, it's like Maholi, I think, is the original author. I think that they mentioned to, yeah, ping them if somebody starts it. So I'll mention them as well. Mention the original author on it as well. Okay, so we will, once we get the code pushed in, we will make an issue that's like, you know, generic, like these are the things that need to happen before this is like really ready to go. Which are going to be some of the stuff like Scott and Sedacious were talking about in here. About, and these are the details that are over my head a little bit, but just basically whatever changes they're talking about here. Or possibly I'm misunderstanding and there's not really that much that needs to be changed. Maybe just the main thing was to have it go to a new library. I guess this, read write high true. I guess this does pop up here, doesn't it? Oh, you know why it's probably doing that though? Because I did disable, I get that back. Yeah, bet you that only popped up because I didn't have this open or switched on. Cool. Discord is actually pretty good about like knowing that their audience kind of includes streamers, and they actually have a thing where like I have the Discord app, and whenever I open OBS, which is the streaming software, Discord app automatically goes into streamer mode where it limits the amount of actual details that certain things show. So like the pop-up there was one. I think it doesn't do that, and it also hides some stuff in the search box and different things, just trying to make it harder to accidentally overshare information that you didn't mean to. It's kind of nice of them for doing that. So this did work, and we do now have init, or not init, but getignore. Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I wonder if I'm going to be able to push after I do all of this, or if I'm going to like have to push from the command line from now on. It would be weird. And it failed even when I put the new token into the GUI. It's not just like the new token works and the old token doesn't. That's interesting. I don't know why it didn't work. So now that we have getignore, though, we can basically add everything else while we're respecting the rules of getignore. Is important. That's why I always do that one first. Git add dash dash all. Is this how you do it? Yeah. And that will automatically ignore anything that is in the getignore file. We'll run pre-commit. I don't know if it's going to pass. As bad as it could have been. It reformatted, which I think makes sense. I think that we just maybe have new version of black since the old PR was made, truthfully. Pylint we failed, but only one thing. Too many arguments on the init. Yeah, that's probably just going to happen because we're also talking about, if I'm reading this thing correctly, I think we're talking about adding an additional argument even on top of what's there today. Yeah. In the constructor, which implies it would be an argument, and I think they crossed out +IO_spy, but I believe it would be when you create this object, RW bits or RO bits or single bit. So we're gonna end up having more. This does have a pylint ignore. I guess it's just not right. It's not in the right spot or something. The syntax is not right. Yeah, I think it just need to be up here. Okay, so we passed now. And actually now just go, let's make a commit, initial code. So it found some to-dos. Let's look at what it found. Some of these are fake. Yeah, like these are settings. This is a setting for something. It happens to contain the word to do. But that's not a to do. That is like a setting that's telling it to do something with to-dos that it finds. This one, though, will want to do. And comment below if you... Oh, no, okay, this is the auto mock stuff. So we could stick this out. I'll leave the rest of this, because if we do end up needing to auto mock something, then it's good to have this, just uncomment it and add whatever we need. But for now, I don't think we need it. All right, and so how did I actually get to that thing? Maybe it just, after I clicked this, it told me about it? Yeah. I don't know why it's thinking 5. It thinks it found 3 in Pylint RC. Okay, 2 more here. If true. Oh, see, yeah, this is another one. These are not to-dos. These are settings that are about to-dos. These are like meta settings. This is in Sphinx config, so yeah. In fact, these are, I guess, what would be making it raise an error if it found actual to-dos. So the 5 that are left are all fine. None of these are actual to-dos. These are settings. There you go, commit push. Just Adafruit main, which ordinarily we would never do. But in this case, it's brand new code. There's nothing in there so far except for git ignore. So we're doing it now. That is really weird. I hope that this is not just broken in PyCharm for everything. What else have I pushed? I pushed requests earlier, and it didn't have this problem. So it's not just broken for everything, which is good. Oh. Okay. Let's see what the problem is. Repo, gist, and read org. Which I don't think I can change these things after the fact. Deleting this again. Making another new one. repo feed.org just token. I don't know what could have changed to do this. Oh. Without workflow scope. Alright, so we're gonna do this dance another time here. Sorry, I know this is not the most interesting, since I have to do pretty much all of this off screen. Basically, I'm just changing the permissions that were on the token. I saw that little box told me some specific ones, and then I tried it, and then it still failed. It told me a different one about workflow, which is this one. I guess maybe they modified GitHub to where new repos maybe have new rules about the way the permissions are enforced. That's the only thing I could think of as to why the old repos never had any trouble like this. Okay. Now we gotta commit. Well, we gotta push, I guess. We already had a commit, but now there should be code here. And it will even, yeah, be running the actions for the first time. Okay. So now I'm gonna make an issue. Some chats back around. Let's see, what's a good name for this? This is like, it's kind of a general thing. Usually an issue would be more specific than this one. Maybe let's do something like, what's needed to get this ready for initial release? And so we'll link back to this one. And find this automatically. Grab it though. Come on, really? Aim? Kill me right now, GitHub. let's just say, could you have a look at the initial code and let us know what needs to be done in order for this to be considered ready to publish. A few things come to mind already for me. Lifted from Adafruit register. Okay. Does register have examples? It does, doesn't it? Okay. All right. So the other thing maybe it's worth mentioning here as well is that seriously? Oh, duh, I'm in the wrong one. This isn't there. Okay, so I'm gonna take another quick stab at trying to understand this. Okay. So if I understand right, I think the proposal is that we need basically 2 additional arguments to the constructor. Originally, Sedacious was talking about adding it maybe to bus.io spy instead of here. But if I understand correctly, they kind of fell back towards, yeah, back towards putting it in the constructor to this object is my understanding of what this means. And so basically 2 additional arguments, one of them being polarity, which is being proposed to be called RW high right true as the default, and it could be false for the opposite. And the other thing is that the number of increment bytes? Increment the register for successive reads. Okay. 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 So yeah, my understanding is 2 new arguments here. One for polarity, one for the I don't know a good name for this concept, but the other one is for this incrementing automatic increment value, I'll call it for now, but I'm sure there's a better term for it. I will say, I do understand a tiny bit more of this than when I looked at it back when this got created. So that is actually kind of cool to know a little bit more about what is going on. Still not everything, certainly not everything, but a little bit more, which is actually kind of a cool thing. Because I remember reading through this originally and trying out, you can see back on those posts in there, I tried it out a couple of ways and I really felt like I was just poking around in the dark back then. And now I'm poking around in the, say, dimly lit. Not quite dark, but a little bit brighter. Really cool. And I hope that by the end of this year, I'll actually have really shone a light onto this and started really grasping and understanding all of what goes into these lower level drivers. Where is that name, though? Let's copy that. Or did I already? I'm gonna close this one so I don't keep going back to it. Oh yeah, okay, I already did that. Another new argument. For the register increment value? Automatic increment value? So this pings Scott, and it pings Maholi, original author. Scott told us that he would help us out with this. Cool. Oh, we'll add one more actually. Let me do Cadney as well. This way Cadney will get a ping message also in the notifications and everything. All right. Wonder if it passed actions. It did. Wow, I'm actually kind of surprised. I'm actually pretty surprised that that passed. That's a good sign, actually. That means means we're fairly close, all things considered. And then the other question, I guess, is okay, no, I guess, yeah, I was gonna say, does it need to be different for RO versus RW, but RO is actually just extending RW and then overwriting set. RO is an RW, and therefore whatever we changed in the initializer here and in the get and the set here will take effect for RO as well. We should only have to make that change in one spot for the bit, but I think we would also do it in here on the bits as well. And this one works the same way, where RO is extending RW and then overriding set. But since it's overriding it, we will just need to do the init stuff there, I think. Get a little more background on this. It's all stemming from me wanting to be able to implement spy on boards that have it, but not knowing how to write libraries. Yeah. All right. What else do I want to do? I'll probably be wrapping it up pretty soon, honestly. We won't go for too much longer. Maybe as one more thing though, what I will do is look into it should be in here, I guess, right? It'll be in here, the thing I'm looking for. So I'm looking for that issue on, yeah, this right here, hard crash. So this is from Dexter. I happen to know that their GitHub name is different, but they're Dexter on the Discord. I mean, there must not be anything specific to the Funhouse with this, I don't think. This should fail the same on any other device, I would assume. So let's just run it on a different device. Nice. All right, I'm gonna keep an eye as well on the chat, and I also keep clicking over to check on Tammy's. I do that all live. Reading through it all. She's asking if by live she means in the stream. This is still back into my head over here. So let's redo. Well, let's just grab all of this and put it in here. Probably not any different, maybe slightly. All right. So let's empty this. And let me think. So before I run code that I know is going to hard crash, I like to take a second and think about the ramifications of it. So I think what I'll do is this time.sleep 5. And this, I think we decided back on that issue, needs to be in here, which is fine. This will give us time before we hard crash, during which we can rename CodePy or break out to the REPL. Basically, leave ourselves a way to recover before we hard crash again, essentially. After we hard crash, before it runs again because we reset. Ideally, it will go to safe mode, and then it won't run CodePy, which would also give us a way to recover. But I'm not sure if that is the case on this one. All blue, I guess. This is linked here. We can download it. This here. This is going to be down a little further. It's going to be down a lot further because somebody needs to clean out my downloads folder. I don't know who that might be. Oh. I already had this? Yeah, I must have already had this. So, yeah, one thing, it is the wrong size. I guess it probably won't matter. I don't think it will matter. I have not saved code yet. Paste this. Mine is actually not inside a BMP. Instead of putting it in there, I'm just going to change the code here. I'm a little paranoid. I'm gonna give it a couple of extra seconds. Ooh. All right. So I keep changing the width or something. Somehow my Discord keeps ending up way too big and then way too small, and I must be changing it in response to one of the screens and then changing it back and not really processing it consciously. I keep noticing that, like, sometimes it's way too big and sometimes it's way too small. All right, and so this would... Let me look at the docs for this too. I don't really remember. Blit. Well, Blit. I guess this is not bitmap tools. This is actually just bitmap.blit. Interesting. Oh, and I almost just went to it. Right, okay, actually I'm gonna try this. We're gonna race. I'm gonna let this, no, this one wins today. All right, that's fair enough. Although this is not really what I want, actually. Yeah, no, this is even like a driver for a random library or something. This is what I want though. Bitmap. This has split, okay. Inserts the source bitmap region defined by the rectangle boundaries into the instance that you call it on. Okay, so we get a source that is coming from onThisBitmap. We create a destination, which is a new bitmap object that is the same size as the source. And in this case, has 64 colors. I don't think it's actually using 64 colors, but it has them. And then it's basically saying destination blit at 00, the source bitmap. And then there are other parameters like x2, y2, if you did not want it to go all the way to the end. Or I guess actually there's Okay, there's where it will be placed, which is XY. And then there is X1, Y1, X2, Y2, which actually together form the rectangle of what you're cutting out and then placing at this spot here. If you don't specify X1, Y1, X2, Y2, my guess is that it will do the whole bitmap. Got a lot of stuff in CircuitPython dev to catch up. If this tidbit has been surfaced yet. I revisited master.gov URL on a debug build. Oh. Oh. This is interesting. Failed to verify certificate. X5. This rings a bell. I don't know if it's the right thing. There was something that came up in like October where some kind of certificate was set to expire, and it was a potential problem for old, out-of-date Android devices. This is the reason I knew about it. I wonder if this is related. This 509 is familiar to me. Maybe this is just like the algorithm or something, though. Maybe I'm conflating them together. Interesting. Load verify locations, which is part of SSL. Context. Load verify locations. I think what I'll do is in the chain. Our bundle seems off. I think this is probably a good time to mention Brent. Can I link to a thread? So we'll do that. This was what was mentioned on the call anyway, was to try asking Brent, and there's some good details right here in the chat. So whenever Brent gets this, it'll bring him to this part of the chat history, and they'll be able to see like the messages that are right there. And let's make sure this thread worked, I guess. Yeah, this did. Okay. All right. Okay, so we'll leave that. Hopefully Brent, tomorrow or sometime, when he's got a minute, will be able to maybe point us in the right direction next. Where's I at here? I think we're ready to go. We got 8 full seconds, so we have plenty of time to change this. If we do hard crash, which is what we expect. Oh, it looks like we actually ran it once already, but luckily we didn't have the actual image, and so it failed. This time it will, well, that part won't fail, but then we expect that it's going to hard crash, so. Save that. All right, so we get to wait. And this is where if, when we come back up from our hard crash, we'll Control-C to get to REPL here. Yeah, and indeed, this does just straight hard crash. It went to disconnected, Python core hard crashed, hard fault handler, use file and issue. So it did actually take me to safe mode in this case. So in this case, this part is not really necessary. We managed to recover back to safe mode, which means that CodePy doesn't run. It means we don't go into an infinite loop, which is good. But this is a good trick. If you ever find yourself like on the cutting edge of CircuitPython core issues, like could be causing hard faults, this is a really good thing to keep in mind, is like if you leave yourself some room here with a sleep, then you have a chance to like not just get stuck in a super fast boot loop as fast as it can, or just when it comes back up automatically running, and then you have no chance to like change CodePy or something, right? So this is good. So I'll take a quick peek in the let's see, close some of this stuff. All of these things anymore. I'll keep that actually for now. This. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna take a peek at the code here. I'm probably not gonna sit and do this whole fix right now. But I'll take a quick look and then I'll probably head out for the night. So this would be, we should be doing verification of arguments should be inside of shared bindings, and this is display IO. Bitmap. And there should be like a blit function inside of here, which is pointing. I can't Control-C it, but this is coming from here. Blit. Array blit. I wonder, we might need something on that one too, I wonder. Blit, here we go. Okay, so I think the fix for this is arg0, I assume should be self, which in our case is destination bitmap, which, yeah, destination bitmap we don't need to check actually, because if it wasn't a bitmap, in this case, if destination wasn't a bitmap, then whatever, unless it also had a blit function, this would just raise an error and say, function not found or whatever. I don't know the exact message, but it would tell you that that function doesn't exist. So really source is what we would need to check, which is actually argument number 2, index number 2. 0, I guess, is self. Oh, so 3 maybe, actually. 0 is self, 1 is the x, 2 is the y, then 3 actually, I guess, would be the source. Or it stops accessing them by position, I guess. Instead looks inside of args. So I think right here, we need to check to make sure that well, basically we need to check to make sure that source is an actual bitmap. And I think that this would involve I don't know if it's after we get it out of this thing, MakerPithon object to pointer, or if it's before we get it. So if we would access it like this, maybe, I'm not sure. Probably too large. So one thing that would be nice is if we could find a type error. Good value error. I'm gonna roll this back before I forget. I think I just made a new line or something. Yeah, but not even. It's like indentation stuff. So it's different. Oh, anymore it doesn't. Okay. Let me look in bitmap tools. For folks that don't know, which I guess is probably most likely everybody that might be watching here, the only thing really I've done inside the core was this fill, this boundary fill function. So that is the core code that I happen to be most intimately familiar with, because this is like code that I actually added to the core. And I remembered that we had a bunch of these checks. Doesn't look like any of them check types, though. Here we go. Okay. Oh. Okay, so this is raising a type error, but it's not strictly because a thing has the wrong type. Yeah. That shows us how to raise it, but I don't think that shows us really how to test if a thing is that type. So let's find a few more of these to look at, maybe. Byte order is not a string. Object is not an iterator. It's not iterable. Object is wrong type. Promising. It has wrong type. I want to say that there might be a helper function that does this. It's not a string. Yeah, so this says MP object is string. Some different. I think there might be like MP object is type or MP object validate type, something like that maybe. Object validate. Invalidate, validated. This is code, these are all comments. Let's try underscore validate. Yeah, this. MP arg validate type. Arg validate type. This thing I think actually can like get it and validate it all in one sort of action, basically. Like this is like busIR UR object t equal star UR equals, and then it calls this function, and this function accesses it and checks the type, and then also returns it so that it can get stored inside of these things. And so I guess our code will be so let's get back to Blit. What's this? Blit? Yeah. Okay, so I think that let's close some of this stuff. I'm actually going to copy this for now. Obviously, we don't need any of the, most of the rest of this, but I kind of want to just look at them side by side here. So we're pretty similar. We have IO bitmap t instead of busIO UR object t. Makes sense. It's just a different type of object. This one was called UR. This one is called source. That part makes sense. So in here we had validate type, args, and then the arg, and then the .uobj, which we have that part here as well. The type, I guess, we'll need to figure out what to put there, and then what to put here. Which actually, this would be this. Okay, so let's start filling this in. What I'm going to do is comment that one out, copy this one, and then start filling it in from here. Validate type. This is arg source. We need to find out the type. And then this would be, I think, this string, this right here. Okay. So the type, how do we know the bitmap type? Do we have any like ampersand, display IO, bitmap space just by itself? Doesn't look like it. IO bitmap blit object, fill object, dirty object. Just kind of looking through some of the rest of this code to see if anything jumps out to me as like kind of what we need. That looks pretty promising, doesn't it? Yeah, that looks very promising. But, alright, so I mean, as you can probably tell, I'm not super well versed in the core. I can kind of fumble my way through some of this stuff if I have enough to copy from. But it's certainly not like second nature to me necessarily at this point. So this might do it, honestly. I'm on a SP Feather TFT. I'm going to try the build, and then I'm probably going to head out, honestly, whether or not it succeeds. If it does succeed, I'll try to run it. If it doesn't succeed, I'll probably just head out. And if I try to run it, I'm probably going to head out pretty soon after that anyway. Curious if Tammy ever jumped on. Let's... No, not yet. I think Tammy mentioned, like, maybe tonight or tomorrow night, so... We'll see if she ends up jumping on later. So we're gonna go ports, cd ports, expressive. I need to delete that other folder. It has like old build things in it. Let's look at it. Honestly, I should probably just reclone. I don't know. My environment might be messed up anyway. Truth be told. Might have to reclone anyway. Oh, ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. Look at this. Heck yeah. Hooray. All right. Data got a successful pull of the NASA data using different certs, basically. You grabbed certs out of the ESP IDF example and then was able to use those in the CircuitPython code and get the response from the NASA server. So that is awesome, actually. That's really, really cool. Yeah, so this still has this stuff in it, which I think is just old, like, stuff from... I think maybe this folder used to be called that, and then it changed to expressive. And I had some files that exist, so it just didn't get deleted whenever that change happened, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of scared to just delete it too, though, truthfully. Maybe I'll keep it for now. I should probably just clone the main repo again, honestly. I feel like, I want to say last time I tried to build... I failed and I couldn't figure out why. back no PS, right? I don't know what that means. I guess this is our board. Make board. One thing is I might have needed to run like export.sh or something, or like make submodules possibly also. I mean, this is cloning a bunch of stuff. I guess maybe it did it for me. I don't know, we'll see how that goes. Docker detection. Nice, yeah. While this is running, I'll pull this back over. This is amazing. So basically what Anecdata ended up doing is manually loading a new certificate string. Right here, load verify locations. This is how you pass it a new certificate, and in this case it looks like there's probably an argument for a raw string instead of a PEM file. And so that's why it's just hard-coded this right here. But ordinarily this would come from a PEM file. And there's a way you could pass that file name instead of a string. This is awesome. Man, thank you so much to Anecdata for sorting this out. I would not have been able to figure all of this out, honestly, I don't think. So huge props to Anecdata. Okay, so yeah, we failed. What did we get? Error 1. Yeah. Like we don't have a compiler. Alright, I'm gonna get one. I think there's this. Building and flashing. I need to do this stuff. For flashing, you must install ESP-IDF. This must be redone every time the ESP-IDF is updated, but not every time you build. Ports expressive. CD2 ports expressive. Okay, so move inside of it and then just run. Okay, so this has install inside of it. Yeah, some of this is coming back to me. It's been a minute since I built anything ESP, so let's try this out here. /ESP. I want to say we need to install, honestly. Yep, this is downloading the thing that other thing just told us it couldn't find. So that seems good. Ooh. Got a nice looking display IO interface going on here. Very possibly. All right, we got all done, so we can run /ESP-IDF/export, or can we? We cannot. Hmm. Not executable? Yeah, not executable. Chmod plus X. Oh, export. Alright. I know I said I was probably leaving if it failed. I'm here troubleshooting it instead of leaving, but give it a couple more attempts here and then see. I will be taking off here pretty soon though. Same problem. Oh, I didn't run it. I made it executable and then didn't run it. So I saw the other one said this too. With this dot, space dot. I'm not familiar with that. I guess it's going to source it. Seems like it. This looks different. So I'm guessing it found the, I don't know, compiler, whatever it needed. I don't actually know what it was asking for. I mean, GCC, I think it said something like that, which is a compiler. So that's what it is. Kind of a crazy glow looking thing going on here, don't I? Because of the top-down shooter camera, I think it is. Turn on the other light. It's all right, though. What is the error? Made it to a new step. Oh, 668. Oh, that looks like an error. Oh, no, it just... Are there warnings, maybe? Yeah, I guess there are warnings, okay. Made it to the end of that, at least. Bootloader binary size. Alright, we got a build. Today on Will It Build, we succeeded. ESP32S2, CircuitPython. So I'm going to go double-click reset. So we'll go back to the camera here. It's been a minute since I used it, but... Okay. The bootloader, which is called Feathers to Boat. I'm going to go CP build firmware UF2 / media MC this. Okay, so we'll copy it over and thus installing CircuitPython. See it blinking away right there, indicating the data going back and forth, or in this case, just forth, I guess. All right, so there we rebooted. We are currently waiting. We got connected, so we'll see if it should raise an exception now if that worked. Oh, look at that, look at that, look at that. We got it, okay. Yeah, so this is what we want to happen. Instead of the hard fault, we want to raise this type error that tells us exactly what the problem is. Source bitmap must be of type bitmap, and that is exactly what happens now. So we managed to successfully do that. Which is pretty awesome, actually. If I'm honest, I did not necessarily think that I could sit down and do that quickly. So it's cool to just kind of see and realize how much I've learned about the core, honestly. And the ability to like actually problem solve some of this stuff for myself. Ordinarily, I would have been quick to like jump in the chat and ask how to do this. I managed to piece together, you know, small little memories from here and there of different stuff I've seen and managed to actually pull it together and do this. I am double checking still just to, I don't think there's anything different we would need. So I'm gonna delete these 2 lines. I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna make a new branch. Git checkout -b. Yeah, thank you, Cedar. Appreciate that. I'm always happy to, I'm always happy to get a successful build, much less like modify the core code and have it do what I wanted. That is like top notch. I'm super stoked for that. Get checkout -b. So let's go bitmap blit, keep it bitmap blit type error from Adafruit main, no track. Hooray. I'm glad to hear that. All right. We're on a new branch. Click here. This will update. Let's look at our changes. We should... Ooh. I don't know why it wants to commit that. For this. I'm gonna uncheck both of those. I'm not sure why those are in the change list. It looks like I added an extra line, which I am prone to do sometimes, so let's yank that back out. And so now our only difference is here. Is this? Tanu implement subscript. Slicer support, start and stop. What that stuff means. I see the blue here is what I was looking for. That's what tells me where the changes are at. It just turns out the blue for to-dos is very close to the blue for changes. They're technically ever so slightly different blues. I don't even know if it comes through on the stream, but this one's a little bit, I guess, brighter, and this one is a little bit like duller, closer to gray. But this is our only change, and basically the only thing we changed is adding this new call in front. This part technically stayed the same because we already had it there. Comma, new argument, comma, another new argument, and then the semicolon and the parentheses actually technically stay the same. So that was already a function call. I think we're good. There is pre-commit on the core, I think. Let's run that. That's going to do things like translating, I think, which we need. Pre-commit run a. Files were modified. Let me run it again. If they were modified, then it should not fail the next time. Oh, this is not saved. Did pass that time, actually, though. Oh, yeah, see, now we're at this problem. So let's see. Let's go file system changes. Let's save this explicitly. Let's run this again. I think it might format again. Actually change things again. I guess not, okay. We do have more things here now. This is like from the code format, I guess. I don't know why these would be different though. That's odd. They are not. They're unchecked here, which means they won't get actually committed. One of the nice things about PyCharm is this whole like visual Git interface. I can kind of like just check and uncheck whichever things we actually want to push, which is really nice when stuff has weird changes that I don't understand, and I can just choose not to push it. It looks like the formatter put back the extra line though. I'm guessing. Because this definitely has the extra line now and is passing without changing anything, so yeah. Alright, so we should be good though. So bitmap is the only one that's checked, which means that's the only one that will actually be included in the commit, even though PyCharm thinks the rest of these have changed as well. Bitmap.blit type checking. Raise error. So one thing I'll say is we did not, well, I don't know, maybe this does checking. We didn't really check for like ints on the other ones or anything else. What are the other arguments even actually? Let me look in the docs actually. It's much easier to read docs than the C code, for me personally at least. So XY source, X1, Y1, X2, Y2, skip. So we only have ints. We have 2 ints, the bitmap, and then 4 or 5 more ints. So all the rest of them are ints. I guess if we were being thorough, maybe we would see what happens if you pass a non-int. Hey, what are you doing? Get out of there. Hey, buddy. Come here. Come here. Kitty on stream. Kitty on stream. Whoa, come on, buddy. Calm down. Calm down. All right. Thanks for hanging out for a minute. Hopefully that's enough of cat tax. Basically, it claims that MQTT doesn't have a set socket method, but I checked the sources bundle and it seems to have one there. Though it says it's for legacy coverage, using the current 7.1.1 build for the PyPortal Pint. Libraries for v7 downloaded today. Yeah, it would be a little better if we could paste the full message, but let's take a look real quick. This is in the help with channel. Realize I keep bouncing back around everywhere, but this is just kind of how my brain goes. We want, I guess, MQTT CircuitPython GitHub. Let's just take a quick look at this, and let's look here. We have 4 days ago. There was a commit. The last release was 10 days ago, so there have been commits since the last release, which means there could be differences from the version that's in the bundle. But these differences should not really affect the functionality. This is just README. Is the commit before that the one from 10 days ago? 13 days ago, actually. Interesting. Typo, but this was just fixing a typo. Yeah, so that should not really affect functionality either. Interestingly, our docs are failing. I wonder what that's about. What did they say? That it doesn't have a set socket method. Where that would be. Not in there. Set socket? Legacy ESP32. The server. Does this go to Adafruit.io? So it's looks like it is calling setSocket from here. Thing that seems odd to me is had like capital MQTT. This is a class. This is initializing the class. In the class. So what strikes me as odd in that code is it has capital MQTT.setSocket as though it's like static or whatever Python's version of static is. I guess, yeah, static. I come more from a Java background. Interesting. Yeah, it does not have like static method here that says setSocket. Only setSocket is up here, and it's just in this file, Adafruit mini mqtt.py. I think there shouldn't be this capital thing in front. Let's see, maybe it's the way it's imported. Oh, okay. Actually. Okay, another place to look is in the examples and see if one of them does something similar. So this is using ESP32S2 basically, because it doesn't import SPI library. Okay, yeah, this looks the same. Let's get this over. Just something to look at here. No, it is just me typing. As far as I can tell... Hey, buddy, don't. Yeah, thank you. Good boy. Get yourself right down. That's a good boy. Patty Beans went downstairs to use the little kitty bathrooms. Right now we're trying to learn with Stripey Man how to not run downstairs and trap his sister the downstairs and make her mad and make them want to fight. That's no fun. As far as I can tell, the code has not been changed. As far as I can tell, the API has not been changed. The API. presses are detected. Nice, everybody. Good kitties. Good kitties. We managed to mediate a face-to-face encounter without any fighting or hissing or scratching or any other undesirable kitty behavior. I just deleted something that I was trying to read. Something about the REPL. I mean, we probably shouldn't call sleep inside this while loop. I don't know if that's the actual problem or not, but I don't know if, like, I mean, I don't think key events can get lost or whatever, but like if the key event came in while we were sleeping, I don't know. I guess I assumed this would find it, but I'm not actually sure. Though I think I'm going to leave that one to other folks. All right. Pushed. No, we didn't push yet, but we're about to. Let's do that. Foamy guy bitmap blit type error. Perfect. This is going to go to foamy guy remote, which is good. If I go to this, we have only one change, which is bitmap C. The rest of these are all just commits that have happened since the last time I updated anything in my fork, which has been a while since I don't do a lot of core development. But this one, this top one here, is showing the actual changes from my actual newest commit right here. So we're looking good. I'm going to push that. We will go make a PR, and then I will actually get out of here like I've been saying for a while now. Let's go Adafruit, CircuitPython. Maybe this is not done? Yeah, this is. Oh, that is. Surprise. Usually this pops up a. Oh no, am I going to have to do it manually? Usually this pops up a thing that's like, do you want to make a pull request with this branch that you just pushed to? And I'm like, yes, yes I do. But it does not seem to. Whoa, buddy, calm down. We have entered the running around crazily phase of Grumpy Cat's evening. Well, one of them. We probably have another one in another, like, hour and a half, 2 hours, but chill out for a while between. So I guess we gotta do this manually, huh? I don't know. Usually it's... Oh! Nice. Just had to wait, I guess. Bitmap blit, type checking, and raise error. We will mention the issue. Start closing these things. Uh, 5916. This is not the right project. Okay, here's this, and I'm gonna put output after this change. And I'll just copy this code in. I mean, the only thing I changed is the time thing, but I do like if I'm gonna be posting code that leads to a hard fault, I do prefer to post it with that time sleep. Just like anybody who finds this on a PR in the CircuitPython repo, you know, it's linked to the issue. They probably understand the risks that they're taking, but just in case somebody happens upon this and decides to run it on their device for whatever reason, like if they happen to hit this page from Google for, you know, how to use an on-disk bitmap or something, and they land here and they don't bother reading and they just run it, you know, at least they're not quite as locked because of the time sleep. All right. I'll also mention one more thing, which is that I did confirm the hard fault. Hard crash? Hard fault? Hard crash? Hard crash. Issue. Described. I must have really butchered it. Descripted. Described. There, I accidentally fixed it, which is kind of funny. Confirmed the hard crash as described in the issue. Whoops. All right. Make sure this is right. Yep. And the one other thing I'm gonna look at is changes, which is here. That looks fine. We did add a line, but the formatter seemed to have done it for us. I don't know why. It's kind of weird. I don't know. I guess if it's a problem, somebody will ask me to remove it, and I'll remove it. That'll be fine. Okay. And I think we are ready to wrap it up now. So I'm going to head out. Thank you, everyone who has watched. Cedar Grove, thanks for tuning in. AT Maker, if you're still around. Bill, thank you for tuning in, as well as just thank you generally for everything you do. Obviously, you're a very important member of the community and an inspiration to myself, and I know, most likely lots of others as well. So thank you for being you and doing the things you do and being a part of the community, if you're still around. Yeah, I will be back, I guess, probably really the next time I'm guaranteed to be back is Saturday morning. 10 a.m. Central Time is my normal streaming time. So you can catch me every week at that time. There is some chance that I will be back in the evening some night this week. I don't know for sure. It just kind of depends what I'm working on in the evenings and if I feel like streaming or not. And if I do, then I'll pop the stream on. If you want to find me during those sort of impromptu streams, much like the one I am doing today, you can follow me on Twitch, and then you'll get notifications whenever I go live. So that's the best way to find out if I just randomly decided to pop on one evening like I did today. So I will be back again next Saturday, 10 a.m. Central Time. You can catch me then. Thank you again to everybody, and I will see you all next time.